Hey everyone, Dr. Brian Capra here from Genesis Chiropractic Software on a beautiful Saturday, June 1st, 2019, down in Boca Raton, Florida. Some things came to mind today as we finished up the month. Today I wanted to just, quickly throw some ideas out there on just some of the mistakes I see people make when they are buying software. The biggest decision-making process mistakes that I see the doctors make. We've been really enjoying just an amazing growth rate at Genesis lately for a while now, but it's really even going over the line now. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with people just finally getting what it's all about to be in the cloud, and that used to be a thing that people were worried about, and today it's the first question they ask to make sure that you are in the cloud. And we pioneered chiropractic software in the cloud. We started that over 15 years ago. So finally, people are making sure that you're in the cloud today, whereas opposed to the past where it was like where they were worried if you were in the cloud. But so we're growing like gangbusters. But just like your practice, probably, you do your month, let's say, and you look at your numbers and you see all the new patients that came in, and you wonder why. You know the people that converted, and then you want to know what happened to the ones that didn't. And just like your practice, not everybody's a fit for Genesis. That's okay, but it's the ones that that could have benefited from what you did or what you do, but didn't sign up. So it's always frustrating for those people because what were they thinking, kind of stuff. So I always analyze that. I'm obsessive about that kind of thing. So there's a few mistakes I see very, very commonly made. We're talking about a software that runs your entire practice, every process and detail in your practice. This thing is supposed to automate. It should save you or even increase your income, increase your revenue. It should make things way more efficient, so it should save you and your team lots of time. It should give you peace of mind when it comes to compliance. I mean, it should make improve your patient retention and your patient experience, and decrease the number of no-shows and patient attrition, and increase your patient referrals. And that's what it should be doing. And what I find surprising, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest mistakes I see people make is rushing through the process. It's really strange. Here's what I think happens. I think you get the idea, something frustrates you about your current software. You get that pain, just like your patients do, and right away it's a rush to find a better one. And I know that people are rushing when the first question they ask is how much it costs. It's kind of like when a patient walks in and they're like, well, how much does it cost? And you're like, well, I don't even know what's wrong with you yet. I got a lot of work to do. Once I assess, and you got to go through that song and dance and try to have a reasonable conversation. Well, it's like, this is the software that if you're going to make a decision, even if you want to make it relatively quickly in the next month or so, this should be the last time you make that decision. Probably the reason you want to leave the software you have is because either you rushed and weren't sure that this was really the right fit for your practice, or the software just outdated or something like that at this point. So you want to make sure that the software is the right fit for your practice. So you really want to give time. One of the things, every software has a calendar and a scheduling system and a note system. We believe our systems are better for those type of things, the feature for feature. But what makes it unique? What makes Genesis unique, for example? Don't you want to take the time to learn what makes this different? So when you're comparing, you want to check those boxes off. Scheduler, documentation, billing, let me see the billing. But you want to know what makes this thing unique. And what's frustrating for us at Genesis is that, not that we don't get the opportunity to tell people about us, is that they don't get the opportunity to know, just because they're rushing. They don't even want to get on a phone call. They don't have time for a 30-minute phone call to learn. So one big mistake is the rushing process. Take your time, do your homework. One of the things we do for our prospects is actually go through in detail, asking you lots of questions about how you practice, what types of processes you do. What type of practice? Are you a family practice or your PI practice? Your workers' comp practice. What do you want to go, high volume, lower volume? Maybe you're more of a nutrition kind of consultation type practice, or more cash as opposed to insurance. So we take a good amount of deliberate time to make sure we understand what it is exactly that you do. You know, a lot of software companies are going to cater to the fact that they know you're in a rush. And they expect that you think that you're going to make a decision on one call. So what they'll do is feature dump on you, feature dump, and all the bells and whistles, and you don't get into the deeper questions that they should be asking and that you should be asking. Give you a quick price at the end and a special promotion, and you know, hopefully close you on that call and churn and burn. And those are the companies with the highest turnover, probably with the worst reputations you're hearing about right now. So big mistake is rushing. Don't rush. Take your time. 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls, what does it matter? As long as they're productive calls and you're getting good information out of it, take your time, make this decision, one that you only have to make one more time if you're looking for software to replace the one you have, or for the first time. That's a big one. Second one is, big mistake is buying old technology. Technology today, if you're not in the cloud, like I said, and I kind of started this, is in today's day and age, you got to be in the cloud. The software you have for your practice must be in the cloud. And when I started this business 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said that, even though I probably should have, because I probably wasn't as confident. But today, day and age, you know, every major company in the world is moving their systems into the cloud. And there's a lot of really important reasons for that. Number one, it's way more secure, actually. Your data is more secure stored in a HIPAA-compliant data center than it is in a server in your office. There's much less downtime now, especially with the innovation since we started, and the internet speeds and the connectivity all across the country. So it's way more secure than it used to be. And it's definitely more secure than what's called a client server-based system. You know, those systems where you have software that's actually sitting in the server sitting in your practice. So you want to make sure you're in the cloud. The cloud also does some other, you know, really cool things for you. One of which, just so you understand that, I don't want to name names, but the client server systems out there, you've probably noticed that their functionality and their integrations with other platforms and other softwares is kind of weak. It's not as automated as it could be. That's because when you're in the cloud, when two systems are in the cloud, they can talk to each other a lot easier. But also, because those systems were built not in the cloud 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the language of the programming at the time, it's kind of stuck in a time capsule. They can't change the language they built that software in. That means they can't change the functionality. Cloud-based softwares like Genesis, we can literally change the language that the software is built on with no real difference or nothing noticed by the user of the software. It's kind of like we can change the engine of the airplane while it's flying. And that's just not capable with other softwares on the market. All right, so think about the cloud, the functionality, the speed, the accessibility, the security. Your data is way more secure. Please also don't listen to this lie that you don't own your data if your data is in the cloud. You always own that data. It's a law, so don't be scared about that. So those are two big mistakes. And I think, again, it kind of comes back to rushing through the process. But probably the biggest mistake I see is that doctors, you know, you don't think about your software as an investment. You really think of it as a cost. If you can't pinpoint how, let's say Genesis, for example, would actually save you time documenting, would save your staff time in billing or submitting claims or following up on patient balances or posting cash payments or following up with no-shows or no future appointments or managing care plan. If you can't pinpoint how much time that would save you or how much that would increase your patient retention or how much that would increase your revenue or how that would affect your patient referrals, if you can't pinpoint that, if you can't think of this, or the software company you're considering can't help you actually pinpoint the return on your investment, then you shouldn't be making purchasing that software. If you can't figure it out for yourself, which is not easy, you know, it's a process. Again, it's going to take a little time, which you should take your time. If you can't do it, or if they can't help you do it, maybe even more importantly, that's not a software you want to go with. So I definitely suggest, if you're on the phone with a software company and you're not rushing and you're taking your time, and hopefully they're asking you some questions about your actual practice. But you know, if they can't help you actually calculate free time recaptured or money recaptured or patient retention recaptured, if they can't give you help you understand the return on investment that software is going to give you, then this is not the right software company. That's a red flag right there. You should be, thank you, no thank you right then. If and when you're talking to one of our consultants, the Genesis consultants, a product consultant, you're gonna see and hear they're gonna care a lot about your practice. They really understand. We see every day how practices implementing Genesis are getting a return on their investment. We look at those numbers again because we're in the cloud. We're analyzing data across practices all the time. So if they can't help you, then that's a big red flag. If they can't help you, you can't figure it out for yourself. So I guess the big three: don't rush. Don't rush into this decision. Take your time. Make sure it's the right decision. Make sure that other company, if it's not Genesis, they're talking that they actually care. You'll know my team members, if you're talking to any of them, they really care because they have seen how a practice after implementing Genesis can see less new patients and their patient visits could go up. Of course, their revenue and referrals and it's all going up, and they're doing it all in less time. They've seen it so many times. They are passionate about it, and you're going to feel that when you talk to them. And if you're not feeling that from another company, get off the call. It's just a big red flag. They don't think in that way because they've never seen it before. So again, big three: don't rush. Right, that'd be number 3 if I was kind of counting down. Number 2 is make sure you're buying the most advanced technology for chiropractor. That should be in the cloud. Number 1, Genesis is the only patented software in chiropractic. And probably the biggest number 1 mistake is not looking at your software as an investment, and rather you're looking at it as a cost. Take your time and help yourself understand what your actual return on your investment will be. It should be an investment. It's not like buying a car. It's a depreciating asset. This should be an investment. You should get a return for years to come. Again, this is Dr. Brian Capra from Genesis. I appreciate your time. Hopefully learned a little bit of something here, and I'll see you soon.